Good morning, Village Church. Hello. Welcome to another devotional. This is for Monday, September the 28th, and I'm Daniel Simpson here with you today. We are reading from the book of Exodus. We're just kind of looking at all the stuff that Moses has done and the life and the story of Moses here. And so far, we've met the burning bush. We've done the 10 plagues. Moses has brought the Israelites out of Egypt. We've crossed the Red Sea, and they did a big worship song and celebration. And now the Israelites, we're in chapter 15, by the way, the last little bit of 15. The Israelites now are beginning what they don't know is, but will end up being a 40-year journey through the desert. We're just at the very start of that. So they've crossed the Red Sea. We've had a party, and now we're wandering. So let me pick up here in verse 22 of Exodus chapter 15, and we'll go through the end of the chapter. Let me read a little bit here. Then Moses led Israel from the Red Sea, and they went into the desert of Shur. For 3 days they traveled in the desert without finding water. Now, if you know about water and food, I mean, you cannot go more than 3 days without water. So they probably had carried some water with them, and now they are out. And they need to find water. They've traveled 3 days in the desert without finding water. When they came to Marah, this is verse 23. When they came to Marah, they could not drink its water because it was bitter. So it's probably a saltwater source here. That is why the place is called Marah. So the people grumbled against Moses, saying, "What are we to drink?" Verse 25, Then Moses cried out to the Lord, and the Lord showed him a piece of wood. He threw it into the water, and the water became sweet or drinkable. There the Lord made a decree and a law for them, and there he tested them. Verse 26, He said, "If you listen carefully to the voice of the Lord, your God, and do what is right in his eyes, if you pay attention to his commands and keep all his decrees, I will not bring on you any of the diseases I brought on the Egyptians, for I am the Lord who heals you." Then they came to Elim, where there were 12 springs and 70 palm trees, and they camped there near the water. So they're wandering. They can't find anything to drink. They do find some water, but it's salt water. Moses says, "God, help us. Please show us what to do." Takes a piece of wood, throws it into the water. In a miracle that God does, the water becomes drinkable. The Israelites are saved. God once again, doing a miracle to provide and save their lives. I think my favorite part of this story is this verse 26, where God says something important here, and he says something to the Israelites. And here's what he says. If you listen carefully to the voice of the Lord your God and do what is right in his eyes, if you pay attention to his commands and keep all his decrees, and here's a promise, then I will not bring on you any of the diseases I brought on Egypt, for I am the Lord who heals you. But I really love this phrase, if you listen carefully. I was so intrigued that I went through on my Bible app on my phone, and I went through, let's look at all these different versions of the Bible. New King James, the Message. I looked at all these different, NASB. I probably looked up, half a dozen or more different versions of this verse to see what else everybody said about this. Because I love this phrase, if you listen carefully to the voice of the Lord. To listen carefully means you're really paying attention. You're really trying. Like, what? What did you say? Tell me again. If you listen carefully. And there are the other versions said things like, if you heed the voice of the Lord, or if you heed his decrees, or, all this there's several other things. But as intrigued as I am by what this verse says, I'm also intrigued by what it doesn't say. The Bible here doesn't say, if you listen when God speaks on Sunday during church. It doesn't say if you listen during your morning devotion time. It doesn't say if you listen to the voice of the Lord every once in a while. It just says if you listen carefully to the voice of the Lord. So that got me thinking. Perhaps God is speaking more than we are aware. Perhaps He is speaking more than we know or realize, and we are not listening. Perhaps it is us who are not listening carefully to the voice of the Lord, and He maybe is speaking all the time. Perhaps God is speaking to us more than we ever realize, but we're just not paying attention. And this intrigued me. I was thinking about my kids. I don't know if you got kids. I got 2 kids. I got one who's a music student in college at Azusa Pacific right now. He's a sophomore, and then I have a senior in high school. And if you've ever got, sometimes when I can tell they stop listening when I go on to one of my dad tirades. I give a dad lecture, and I just go off on, well, if you don't work hard on this, then this is gonna, and I can just kind of see the eyes glaze over, and I go, and I say, Noah, huh? What? Yes? Are you listening to me? Uh-huh, yes? And I'm like, sure you are. You stopped listening a long time ago. Or we're in Zoom school all the time right now. So Noah's got his headphones on in Zoom class all day for his school. And sometimes even on his breaks, though, like he'll keep his headphones on. So I might have seen him come out to the kitchen and get something, or he'll go back in his room, put his headphones back in, and I go, hey, Noah, are you still in school? But he can't hear me. He's got his headphones on, So finally, after a couple times, Noah, and then I go, Noah, if I really want to talk to him about something, Noah. And then he goes, huh? Yes, yeah, Dad. Takes his headphones off because he's heard me, faintly through his headphones. And so I just was thinking maybe God is speaking quite a bit, and it's really us that is not paying attention, and not in the way like God is yelling at us like our dad is from across the house, or even giving us like a dad lecture, and where we go, and we just glaze over and stop paying attention. I think perhaps we're just not listening. Like we don't carve out the time often in our schedule to like clear the clutter of our thoughts, even to clear the clutter and just stop and like pay attention. God, what are you speaking? God, what are you doing? God, what do you want today from me? God, Jesus, how do I follow you better today? Speak to me, Lord. Do we take the time to say that? Do we take the time to be still and listen? This is something I've been thinking a lot about. A lot of times we pray in church, like, Lord, speak to us now, speak to us through these worship songs, speak to us through, Pastor Wade's sermon, and that's totally awesome. And he does. God is always showing up in our church services, moving through, our time of worship and Wade's sermons, and like God is always speaking to us. It's just amazing stuff that God does when we experience His presence together. But I think there's more to it than just a Sunday morning. I think perhaps God is speaking to us a lot more than we realize. And again, we just aren't paying attention. So my encouragement and my challenge to you today is to clear the clutter in your schedule, your thoughts. There were so many times when Jesus, when He was on this earth, when He had to get away and go by Himself and pray. My encouragement to you is to clear the clutter and to pay attention and to listen carefully to the voice of the Lord. Because I think God is speaking. I think He's speaking a lot. And my prayer for you is that you listen to what He has to say to you. I love you. Have a good week. We'll see you next Monday.